Hi. On today's District Directions, we will be joined by Ms. Connie Blaney in her district update. Dr. Judy Barber will be discussing the transformation of West into Alcott Middle School on her focus on learning, and in addition, a discussion about stopping crime with Ms. Linda Kramer.
Welcome back to another edition of District Directions. I'm Amanda Patterson.
And I'm Lawrence Bothwell. As you may or may not know, the state's Constitution provides its citizens with an allowance to vote each year on various mileage products. Well, this year, or 1997, Norman's district bond election will be held in junction with the annual mileage elections. On Tuesday, February 11th, 97, these levies are vital to keep Norman's public schools running smoothly. To tell you more about these levies is Ms. Connie Blaney with her district update.
Good evening. Construction on one section of Longfellow Middle School has been completed. Classes have been moving into the new section of Longfellow in the past few weeks. After Longfellow students are moved into the new section, contractors will begin working on remodeling the old part of Longfellow. Construction is on schedule with the completion of Norman High School North by this summer. The bond issue that was passed in October will allow for the completion of Phase 3, which will complete the remodeling of Longfellow and the completion of the shell building, which is the wing on the east side of the building. The shell includes a competition gymnasium, music rooms, locker rooms, and other facilities. A special school board meeting was held on December 5th at 3:30 p.m. The board approved a resolution authorizing the district to hold a bond election in conjunction with the annual school millage election. The annual school millage election and the 1997 bond election for Norman Public Schools will be held on Tuesday, February 11th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the regular precinct polling places. This is the first time Norman Public Schools has combined the 1997 bond election, which is usually held in October of each year, with the annual millage election. Passage of the bond issue would allow us to sell a portion of the bonds as early as next April and expedite several projects needed for the secondary transition, Superintendent Jim Gray said. All registered voters residing in Norman Public School District are eligible to vote in the millage and bond elections. Patrons will vote on the 5 1/8 mil building fund levy, the 5 mil emergency fund levy, and the 10 mil local support levy for the fiscal year 1997-98. These levies will not increase taxes since the levies are already in effect. The state constitution provides that citizens must vote on these mills each year. Funds from the emergency levy and the local support levy assist with the day-to-day operating expenses of the district. The building fund levy is used to repair and update buildings and to purchase equipment and furniture. These levies are necessary to keep Norman Public Schools operating. On the bond election ballot, patrons will be voting on three propositions totaling $7,300,000, which include renovation and repair of school buildings, construction of facilities, replacement of roofs, purchase of furniture and other equipment, technology, and the purchase of vans and school buses for students. We do not anticipate that taxes will go up because as new bond issues are passed, old ones are paid and removed from the tax roll, Superintendent Gray said. He noted that the bond mill levy has actually decreased since 1993. Dan Snell, OU professor, was the only person who filed for Board of Education Office Number 2, presently held by Tom Clote Jr., President. Clote is not seeking re-election. Mr. Snell will be sworn in to office number 2 at the regular school board meeting on February 24th. 2 half-days have been set aside for in-service training for employees. This in-service was recently approved by the State Department of Education. The dates are February 28th and April 11th in the afternoons. Details about times when schools will let out at various school sites, the lunch detail, and school routes home will be discussed soon. When the details are worked out, I will announce the plans in Update, and the schools will announce this information to their parents in school newsletters and Thursday folders. The in-service will be held so that the new staffs assigned for the 1997-98 school year can get together and get acquainted and to make plans for next school year. Winter break is scheduled for December 20th through January 1st. Vacation begins at the end of the day on Thursday, December 19th. Classes will resume on Thursday, January 2nd. We want to wish our employees, our students, and families a very safe and joyous holiday and a Happy New Year. For Norman Public Schools, I'm Connie Blaney.
Thank you, Miss Blaney. As we all know by now, next year there will be a few new schools. Longfellow will become Norman High North, Central Mid-High will become Longfellow, and West will become the new Alcott Middle School.
And with their eras coming to an end, everybody's trying hard to preserve their memories and the essence of these schools. Tina Nations, the principal at West Mid-High, is with Dr. Judy Barber as they discuss West nostalgia, along with 2 other guests as they focus on learning.
Welcome to Focus on Learning. As you've seen in the many shows on Channel 29, we have a transition going on in the Norman Public Schools. Soon, we will have 2 four-year high schools and 4 middle schools. My guests today are here to talk about the closing of a tradition, the West tradition. We have Dr. Tina Nations, Jeff Byford, and Natalie Strickland. Thank you for joining me. Tina, why don't you just start and let's talk about the many things that you're doing, and can you say celebration of closing?
Well, I think that's what we have to say.
Mm-hmm.
We started last spring because we knew it'd be a tough year, for everyone. So we started last spring with what kind of theme can we carry on, and I went into classes and talked to students and also visited with teachers, and we settled on West, the Spirit Lives On, 1959 to 1997. So we came up with that theme and talked about some plans, and then our Leadership Academy met, and they came in with some specific plans.
Okay, and Natalie, you're with the Leadership Academy, is that correct?
Yes.
Why don't you just start a little bit and talk about the Leadership Academy just in general. Tell us about that first.
Well, last spring sometime we went to St. Crispin's, and there's 24 of us. Is that correct? 24?
24.
And we all filled out applications, and all of us are dedicated to what we're doing, and we went there, and we took a lot of time to decide what we were going to do, and we wanted to do something to help with the transition of the 2 schools. And so we came up with our idea to do the statue.
Okay, we'll talk some more about that in a minute. I wanted to go back to that these are 24 students who volunteered for leadership positions and not officers,
They
but
applied.
they applied
Those applications.
for an academy. Then you went to St. Crispin's for a retreat kind of thing to be away, so you could really talk about what you wanted to do and leadership skills, I guess, huh, Jeff?
Yes.
Right.
It was myself and 3 other teachers, and it was an intense time. There was a lot of brainstorming. It was productive, and we came up with a very excellent idea to pass on to future generations at Alcott Middle School.
Well, let's go to you now.
Okay.
You've been working with the students in a variety of ways. Why don't you describe some of those?
Well, I'm a history teacher at West Mid-High. I teach 9th and 10th grade American history. Last year I was asked to be a part of the Leadership Academy, and I gladly volunteered to do so. Like I said, there was 24 students. They made the cut. They applied, and it was tough. I mean, there was some tough calls. And we went to St. Crispin's again, and it was interesting. Also right now, the leadership itself, it's people have a hard time understanding. We do the Leadership Academy at St. Crispin's. But then you got to realize there's things we do in the summertime. And then when we get here, there's always work to do. So it's constantly working. So I'm always...
It's a working group.
Oh,
And
yes.
when they decided on the project, which was, since Alcott Middle School is going to be the Wildcats, the kids voted on that, the Academy students felt like that leaving a bronze life-size statue of a Wildcat, kind of like the Norman Tiger at Norman High School, in the foyer of the school was what they wanted to do. And so in order to pull that off, like they do many projects at the Academy, they divide into subcommittees.
Oh, okay.
And maybe Natalie could tell you about those. Or
And you're on publicity, Natalie?
Yes, I'm on the publicity committee.
Tell me about that committee.
Well, it's our job to go out to the newspapers, the television, all those kind of things, and just to tell them what it's about. We've contacted, I believe, 8 radio stations, sent letters to them about it. And so we're just trying to call everybody and contact everybody and trying to get them to say something about it so that the community knows about it.
All right, so some public awareness, both for the advertising of the project, and I would guess you'd need some money to get this done.
yeah, $7,000.
$7,000. And what are you doing to gain that $7,000?
Well, like Natalie said, we're sending letters out to radio stations, newspapers,
And to
businesses. We're expecting the community, hopefully we're expecting the community to support us in
Because
this.
many
in this
members
need.
in the community also went to West.
Yeah,
No,
that's
there's
what
a
I was
lot.
going to say. You had said before the show it's a way to give back to your school, or what was the phrase you used?
Well,
It
I
was
think to have a living memory for people. In other words, if they give $750 to $1,000, they can have their name on the plaque below. The plaque will say, West Mid High, the Spirit Lives On, 1959 to 1997, the Leadership Academy, and anyone who gives, $750 to $1,000 individual donors, name will be on that plaque. Some of our clubs are also donating so that their club name can be on there,
All right.
and even the West Mid High athletes. And we're going to say 1959 to 1997 instead of just the 96, 97 athletes.
Well, I would guess that $7,000 won't be hard to raise in the Norman community. Our community supports us so well.
Yeah, Norman Public Schools, they're very great. They're very lucky to have a community that supports us this much.
What if someone wanted to, or is watching the show and wanted to donate some money to this? Would they call the school? What?
They could call the school at 366-5918, or they could just mail a letter or a check to 1919 West Boyd, 73069. I think the other thing I would like to say is that the Leadership Academy not only planned this statue, but they planned an unleashing of the cat.
Oh, yes?
And so that's going to be a ceremony on May the 10th at 5 o'clock. And the band and orchestra are going to play, and the vocal music are going to play, and letters are going to be sent to alumni, and also advertised in the paper if you're alumni, in case we miss someone, to attend that ceremony. Then following that, the student council is sponsoring a dance. It'll be the last, social event at West. And I think they're really considering using the theme of West, the Spirit Lives On, and wear memorabilia T-shirts, and one with the oldest T-shirt or the newest T-shirt, or some have some door prizes for some of those.
So maybe besides money, people in the community that have things that are connected to West from the
Sure.
past.
Yes, the halls are going to be decorated with memorabilia, and there's going to be memorabilia displays. I said that word.
Yeah, you could do it.
So as they're going to have those displays, and by having those, then I know people who said that they had cheerleading uniforms, and they had old yearbooks, and they have all kinds of things. And we have an article of the opening of West,
Okay,
and about
good.
who was there and how
Opening
they
and
did that.
closing, opening and the closing of the chapter.
Every time,
Good
isn't it? Right. We talked about the publicity committee with the Leadership Academy, but I cut you off because we went on to something else. What are the other committees that you have?
We have the ceremony committee, we have the fundraising committee, and
Statue.
statue.
Statue Committee is actually in charge of making a bronze Wildcat, which, like I said, will be passed on to Alcott Middle School. And then we have the ceremony. And that's what's in charge of doing all the stuff on May 10th and getting things up to that point.
And the statue committee is also investigating through United Design, maybe getting some smaller souvenir memorabilia, kind of Wildcats as keepsakes, and even maybe a bank. But we're working with Jenny Clinton.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Right. I'm interested in knowing, besides the projects that you have set, what this closing means to each one of you personally, because as I'm in schools and at Central and at West, and I'm talking with teachers, I know that there's a lot of personal feelings, and should be. Natalie, let's start with you. What does it mean to you?
Well, my brother and sister both went to West Mid High when they were 9th and 10th graders. It's just kind of a tradition thing. You know, Norman's always had the Mid High, and so it's just kind of the closing of it, and so it's just like a new chapter of a book. You know, we're getting rid of the old and coming in with the new as the time changes. It kind of shows how, as the years go on, how things have to change, and so, you know, it's going to be hard on everybody, but I think we'll like it at the end.
That's a nice analogy of a new chapter in a book. Yeah. Jeff, how about you, from a teacher's point of view?
Well, I've only been at West for 2 years, but West, I can honestly say, is probably one of the closest knit faculties that I've been to. I love my department. Everybody's very supportive, and it's going to be tough to have that break, because we've had people at the school that have been there for 26 years, am I right? 26 years. So it's going to be tough. You know, we've talked about it in faculty meetings. Some are going to Norman High, some are going to Norman High North, some are going to be going maybe possibly to the middle schools. That's just the way it is. And we're trying to, every faculty meeting or at particular times, try to, you know, have good and bad points. I know that we've had in our faculty meetings the most funniest things that have happened at West, or the most embarrassing things that
Well,
happened.
Some of those we wouldn't want to tell on the
Yeah.
air, I think, Jeff.
We have a faculty, our Healthy Climate Committee writes a newsletter, and in the past we've had your favorite books, your favorite songs, all of those kinds of things. Well, this year what was your funniest memories from West? One of them was watching me play basketball.
Last year?
Yeah, but they have different memories that they're presenting in that, and so that's been fun.
Good. And how about you, Dr. Nations?
Well, it's pretty tough for me because this is my 6th year there as a principal, but 10 years ago, I was there as an assistant principal, and many of those people are still there. When I was an assistant principal and came back as a principal, and I feel like that I helped build the family at West, and we do call it our West family, so that it's more the breaking of the family than it is the building itself. But it's always fun to have grandparents come in and say, well, my children went to school here.
Right.
And we have to think of it. She says a chapter of a book. We think of it as a marriage. Everybody thinks first thought of divorce, because having to separate. Okay, this school's going to get this, and we have to divide up everything. But really, we're going to have new families at the new schools.
Absolutely.
And I think that as I visit around the school, I see kids adjusting even easier than teachers are.
Yes.
Because they're kind of like, so, yeah. I've
And
been
it's
both
exciting
places.
to think about building new traditions, both at not only at Norman High North with a new building, but here at Norman High School.
Because it will be a new school with,
Right.
with the new faculty and the different students.
That's right.
And they've not had, but I do think one thing that I'm really excited about is having a 9 through 12 school, because we do really get attached to our 9th and 10th graders, and then we just have to let go of them.
Right.
And don't really get to see them on through. So
I
we'll
think
get to
that's
take them from
exciting
9th all the
too.
way through 12.
Natalie, how do you feel about that? You'll be a
Junior. Personally, I don't like it, but I don't have a choice.
And is that because you don't want those little kids around you?
No, that doesn't bother me.
What are you
but,
thinking?
Well, my friend and I have been best friends since 6th grade, and all of a sudden we're going to go to different high schools. That's real hard.
Right. That is hard, isn't it?
And there's a lot of people like that, and I play softball, and half the team's going to one school, and the other half's going to another school, and you know the seniors are having to be split up, so it's pretty hard.
Right. Those are the same kinds of feelings that we were talking about with teachers. That friendship that has developed, and to know you can't be together every day.
Yeah.
Friendships will still stay and be there, but in a different way.
Still call.
That's right. Right. And still call. That's right.
help.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining me on Focus on Learning, but mainly I want to thank you for honoring the tradition that's been built at West and will be built again in our other schools. But before we close, I know that we want to say the school telephone number again and the address, because any community members that wanted to send in things that they had from the West past or money for
They'll be taken care of too.
for unleashing the cat. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Number is?
Is 366-5918 and 1919 West Boyd, Norman, Oklahoma 73069.
And say the theme for?
West Mid High, The Spirit Lives On,
Yeah.
1959 to 1997.
Thank you all very much. And thank you for joining me on Focus on Learning.
Thank you, Dr. Barber. Every school you attend can be a wonderful experience, especially if that learning experience isn't disturbed. This disturbance can be caused by uncaring individuals who commit crimes at school, whether it's stealing, cheating on tests, or vandalizing school property. They interfere with your valuable learning time and need to be stopped. Here's Miss Linda Kramer with her new program.
Hi, welcome to the show. Joining me today is Norman High School junior Jim Dow. Jim is the president of the Norman Public Schools Crime Stoppers program, and he's going to fill us in on what this new program is and what it does. Thanks for joining me today, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Would you tell us, just in a general way, what is the Norman Crime Stoppers program, the Norman Public Schools, Crime Stoppers program?
Okay, there's a Norman Crime Stoppers. I don't know if y'all have heard of them. And they funded this to help solve crimes committed on our campuses. All secondary schools, and I guess it would go all the way down to elementary schools, but mainly geared toward crimes on secondary schools' campuses. And our job is to we get together and think of ways to publicize and help solve the crimes that the police don't have any leads on.
I see.
We've got a hotline number. It's 573-9111, and the students can call in, leave anonymous tips. They usually you're going to get a voicemail, and you'll get a code name or code number. And if your tip helps lead to the solving of a crime, you get rewards, which is kind of incentive here.
Yes, it is. I can think that that would be a good incentive to get involved in what's going on at the schools. What kind of crimes are we talking about, and what is the reward that a kid could expect?
Okay, well, we have three classifications. There's minor, petty, and major. And minor is just kind of, breaking into someone's locker, just harassment, just kind of not really big stuff. And there's $10 rewards for that. Then there's petty. Petty comes next, and that's more serious vandalism, and that the rewards go all the way up to 50 for that. And then there's major, that's more felony type stuff, and that goes all the way up to $125.
Now, can I assume that some of these things would be bumped to the police department if they're really serious?
Yes. Okay. Everything that's called in goes directly to the police to start with. But yeah, if we're talking something really bad like sexual assaults or murder or anything like that, that goes to the police, and it goes on to a new reward system, the Norman Crime Stoppers reward system. I forget the numbers on that. I want to say it's $1,000 rewards.
Yeah, it's pretty major money we're talking about.
Yeah.
Why do we think we need this kind of a program here in the Norman Public Schools? We seem to have a pretty safe school system.
Yeah, we really do, but there's stuff that goes on that students are fed up with, and the administrative people are fed up with. Stuff like the vandalism we had here a couple weeks ago. That cost the school board a lot of money, and I'm sure there would have been kids that called in had they had a way to do it.
I see.
Just help solve crimes like that.
Well, solving the crimes is a really good thing, but is it possible that this kind of a program in place would help prevent some of these things from happening?
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, I don't know to what extent, and really that depends on us. If we need to do a good job publicizing it.
Right. I
getting
think
it out there.
somebody might think twice before they vandalize or steal if they know that they're being observed, and they might report it. You mentioned that this is all the way through the secondary schools. Who are the other students who are involved in this program?
Boy. Well, I can't remember who all else was involved. There's 12 students, I believe, and I can tell you the executive members. There's I'm the president, and I'm Jim Dow, and there's Bobby Hackbarth. She's the first vice president for Norman High. From Longfellow Middle School, we have Annie Heister. She's the second vice president. Then there's Carissa Harwell. She's from Central. She's the secretary. Kelly Skaggs is the treasurer. And Grant Hill. I don't remember what he does.
But I'm sure he
he's
does.
at the meeting. So
He does something important. When does this all start?
we're trying to get this kicked off February the 1st. We just moved we just moved it back a little bit because with the Christmas break coming up, it's going to be hard to get started.
So that hotline number is not in operation yet?
Yes, the hotline number is in operation yet, and we'd like for people to use it during
I
the
see.
Christmas break.
Okay, so we can defer all the rewards and all that until February, but they should start calling immediately if they see anything going on.
Yeah, we've already had calls.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and you may get your rewards now. I don't know. I guess.
Well, I think that they could discuss that later. But, okay, we want to thank Jim for joining us today. And also, I'd like to remind people in the community, we're going to have our schools closed up during the Christmas break. And if anybody in the community sees anything that is of a suspicious nature going on those campuses, please remember to call that hotline number. It is 573-9111. And thanks again for joining me on Opening Doors, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Mrs. Kramer, and thank you, our viewers, for tuning into the School Channel and District Directions. This is all the time we have for today's show, but we'll be back after the holidays. So for Lawrence Bothwell, I'm Amanda Patterson, wishing you fun and safe holidays.